One of the most famous passages in Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov is that of the Grand Inquisitor. Jesus appears in the Middle Ages and he's arrested by the Inquisition. And he's put in a cell. And in this chapter, he never speaks a word. It's the Inquisitor who's speaking. And he says, it's years since I read it. Years since I first knew of this when I happened upon a BBC Radio 4 play starring the great actor Leo McKern. And I recorded the very same thing being with John Gielgud as the Grand Inquisitor. I can never find the Leo McKern version, which is my favourite, afterwards. So if anybody knows how to get that, do let me know. Anyhow, so the Inquisitor is saying to Jesus, do you know why we arrested you? You were healing people, giving them comfort, doing good. You must know when you spoke to the devil in the desert, when he offered you to turn these stones to bread, you rejected that. You were mistaken. You should have agreed to it. We accepted his offer. We give them bread because that's what they want. They don't want highfalutin principles, high-sounding ideas. We give them bread and they follow us like children. And we've now received the kingdoms of the world. So tomorrow, you'll be taken out and burnt at the stake because we can't have you coming back here messing up what we've built. So this is the drama of the Grand Inquisitor. Dostoevsky is Russian, and it seems to me he pretty much had a strong dislike of the Catholic Church because the Inquisition was not like that. It never gave itself to the devil. It did God's work. Like any enterprise, men can do wrong things. But what fascinates me is that duel between Christ and Satan. It's one of the most fascinating parts of the gospel. And it's in Maria Valtorta's visions. So I'm going to read that right now. It was given on the 24th of February 1944, chapter 46. Jesus is tempted in the desert by the devil. The Thursday following Ash Wednesday, the vision is given. I see the solitary land, which I already saw on my left-hand side in the vision of Jesus' baptism in the Jordan. But I must be some way inside the desert, because I neither see the beautiful blue slow-flowing river, nor the green strips of vegetation which coast its banks and are nourished by its waters. There is nothing here but solitude, stones, and such a parched earth that it has become a yellowish dust, raised now and again by the wind in small eddies, which are so hot and dry that they seem to be the breath of a feverish mouth. And they are very troublesome because of the dust penetrating nostrils and throats. There are a very few small thorny bushes, strangely surviving in so much desolation. They look like small forelocks of surviving hair on a bald head. Above, there is a merciless blue sky. Below, arid land. Around, stones and silence. That is what I see, as far as nature is concerned. Leaning against a huge piece of overhanging rock, which because of its shape, forms a kind of a grotto, there is Jesus sitting on a stone that has been taken into the cave. That is how he protects himself from the scorching sun. And my internal advisor informs me that the stone on which he is now sitting is also his kneeling stool and pillow when he takes a few hours' rest, enveloped in his mantle under a starry sky in the chill air of the night. Near him there is the haversack which I saw him take before departing from Nazareth. It is all he has. and from the way it is folded, I realise it has been emptied of the little food Mary had put into it. I'll just pause there, and that refers to the episode which is given earlier, which is quite poignant because Jesus is about to leave on his public mission, and both he and Mary know this is the end of a phase of his life, and she's very much fretting and bustling around, finding food to put in his knapsack, and he is very glum and silent and tries to stop her from putting food in his haversack, but she's very much distracted and upset but won't say anything. And then we have the scene where he goes to the door and it's very slow moving towards the door, and then he hangs around there for ages. She doesn't want to let him go, but again she isn't clinging to him. She knows this is his mission, but this is the mission which begins and ends in his death. So because it's going to end in his death, she knows the implications of this moment, and he does too. But it's a very poignant goodbye between the two of them. Of course he comes back several times to Nazareth, but this is the end of one phase of his life, and it's the most solemn phase and the most deadly phase, which is now going to take place, culminate 3.5 years later, though she won't know exactly when, but she knows it's going to culminate in the catastrophe of his death. So resuming, Jesus is very thin and pale. He is sitting with his elbows resting on his knees, his forearms forward, his hands joined and his fingers interlaced. He is meditating. Now and again he looks up and around, then looks at the sun, almost perpendicular in the blue sky. Now and again, particularly after looking around at the sun, he closes his eyes and leans on the rock sheltering him as if he were seized by dizziness.